All right, we're live. Welcome to the Real Wellness Podcast. It is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the time that I get to join a guest, or a guest gets to join me on all our platforms, and we just talk about real life. So, welcome to the Real Wellness Podcast. It's a space for real conversations with inspiring people who are living with authenticity, purpose, resilience, and intention, even through life's most difficult challenges. So I am going to give an intro to Christina, and we'll talk about how we met, and we are going to talk about all the good stuff. So Christina is a best-selling author, TEDx speaker, a trauma-informed occupational therapist and publisher who helps women turn pain into purpose through storytelling. As the founder of Soul Story Collective, she blends clinical expertise and lived experience to guide women in healing, regulating their nervous system, and sharing their stories with clarity, strength, and impact. She believes every woman's story holds the power to heal not only herself, but others. So welcome, Christina.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun. I'm so proud of you for officially starting your podcast.
Yeah, I'm like 5 weeks in. So if you are joining us, please say hello. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. And if you're watching as a replay, welcome. And we'd love to hear from you. So Christina and I crossed paths last July at Billy Cox event in Texas, yet Christina's from Florida. And we met through Amberly Lago, who is one of our big cheerleaders, our mentor, our coach. And gosh, when I started talking to Christina, our stories were just so similar. And Christina, I'm going to turn it over to you and share a little bit about like your story and how our lives kind of intersected.
Yeah, it was crazy when we met at that event and you gave me one of your books, and I didn't have any books with me or I would have given you mine. But I started reading your book as like on the plane on the way home, and I just couldn't believe like we were essentially living parallel lives and the same time period too. Like it was really close together. So I'll give you the short version of my very long life. It seems like it's been long anyway. I'm about to turn 50 years old.
Woohoo! Welcome to the 50s. It's awesome.
50.
Well, I like turning 50 better than 40.
Yes. Well, there was a time when I wasn't sure I was going to make it to 40. So I'm ecstatic about turning 50. But my husband and I have been married since we were 22 and 23. And we found out early in our marriage that we carry a very rare gene. And so we ended up losing 3 biological children. Our first daughter lived for 3 days, which was a blessing and a curse at the same time. As you know, the longer they're with you, the harder it is to let them go. And then we were fortunate to adopt. We were blessed with adoption. So we adopted twin girls in 2003. They are 22 years old. And then we adopted a little boy about 4 years later, and he will be 18, which is crazy to me. He will be 18 in September. And all along the way, after we lost our babies, I became very depressed and anxious. And even though we adopted the girls pretty soon after 2 of those losses, I was just going through the motions. And so, you know how you kind of live on autopilot and you just do the things and you're the mom and you work and all the stuff and you're not taking care of yourself. And so became very depressed, anxious. I was having panic attacks. Ended up, our son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum when he was 4. And so that was a whole nother challenge. I guess the whole family dynamic changed when he came along. And I couldn't find anybody to help us, and I couldn't help him. And so I am an overachiever. I thank my dad for that, because he was one of those dads that like nothing was ever good enough when I was growing up. And so it always boosted me to do more and more and more. It's like a lot of us in our circle are overachievers. And so I went back to school at the age of 39 to get my master's degree in occupational therapy so that I could better raise our son. So right before I was supposed to go back to school or start school, they found a tumor growing from the inside of my femur bone. And I have said all along that I am convinced that that tumor is from unprocessed emotions. And so I fully believe that I gave myself cancer. I know some people may not buy into that, but I think that's true. I had 2 major surgeries, and now I have a plate and 7 screws in my leg. And I love that you are always talking about fitness and wellness and all those kind of things because of those surgeries. And I had started taking better care of myself before that surgery, which I think saved me and helped so much in my recovery because I was already strong, or I don't think I would have made it through those surgeries because it was really hard. But I get to move my body. Like I take a totally different perspective on it because I was faced with an amputation. When they first found the tumor, they were like, usually when we see this type of thing, it means amputation. And so I realized that I could not have a leg. And so I love to work out every day.
I know you do.
Yeah, I feel fortunate to move my body. And so I'm thankful that I got that perspective. So I'm coming to the end here, people, just stay with me. Along the way, my husband and I were disconnected. And as I said before, just sort of going through the motions of life. And he ended up being unfaithful at one point in our marriage. And I am actually grateful for that too, because that turned me inward kind of woke me up and said, I have been checked out of our marriage. I have been checked out of motherhood. I have been checked out of life. And so that put me on like this really inward journey that I had to get out of that funk and start being a better mom, start being a better wife, and start taking better care of myself because I wasn't loving me. So how could I love them? And now we've been married for 27 years and stronger than ever. He's my best friend and one of my biggest cheerleader. We were both recently at Amberly's event in April and both of our husbands was there. I thought it was great that there were a bunch of husbands there cheering us on. So yeah, that's me. And then it'll be July 3rd, will be a year that my book came out. So the title of my book is Eat Your Feelings, because that's what I was doing for 20 years of my life. I was stuffing down my feelings instead of processing them. And I kind of turned my life upside down and said, I'm going to go into this entrepreneurship thing full time. Speaker, author, just did a TEDx in March. And then I opened my own publishing company so that I can help other women heal through storytelling and publishing their books. And my first launch is July 25th. I'm so excited.
That's so awesome. Make sure you share that with me.
Yeah.
Okay, we have so much to unpack on what Christina just shared because I think when people hear your story, they might not see all of themselves in your story, but whether it's child loss, whether it's adoption, whether it's a diagnosis of autism or another disease for their child, maybe it's marriage infidelity, maybe it's dealing with cancer. I mean, Christina's been pretty much slammed with every possible scenario of trauma and grief that you can as a female. And I think we're so drawn to each other because I can relate to a lot of your story. And I also know you've turned your pain into purpose. And that is so inspiring. And I think sharing that message with other women, that doesn't matter where you've been, what you've been through, that there's always going to be light. There's always going to be someone to help you through this dark time, even when you feel lonely. And it might be turning inward to realize what you need for help. But there's just so much in what you shared that I think so many women need inspiration. They need someone to uplift them. They need to share their own stories. I know when I owned my gym, listening to a lot of women that, they didn't realize the person next to them was maybe going through the same thing until they shared it. And so I love how vulnerable you are and how you just pour your heart out. And you've been such an inspiration. And even since we met last July, you have just like exploded. So I would say through all of that, Christina, what was maybe the constant in your life that helped you through all of that?
I mean, the only answer that I have is God. I mean, I don't know any other way that I could still be here smiling, getting to live the life that I live without God. Because I mean, there was a lot of times where I was angry at him. I asked him a lot of questions. I yelled at him. I cried at him, all the things that you can do. But I knew, just deep down, I knew that everything was going to be okay. I mean, and it was so crazy to tell my story. When I tell my story, I lived it, but it's crazy to tell it, like, especially with our kids. I mean, most people never adopt a baby. You know what I mean? And we adopted 3 babies.
Wow.
And the twins, I mean, that was just wild. They were born on Christmas Day. I mean, it's like a Hallmark movie. I mean, people say a lot of times, like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, true real life is sometimes crazier than fiction.
Yeah.
Um, but for us to get a call on Christmas night that there were twin girls that were born, and they simply said, "Do you want them?"
Wow.
Like, who
Yeah.
does that happen to? It's
Well,
just
I think God had a
crazy.
plan for you clearly. And the fact that you leaned into your faith and trusted and had the courage through all you had been through. And you also mentioned something else that I can relate to, other than leaning into faith, is um, like how you use your, even though you've been through a lot with your body, it shows up for you. And I just did a video about this today. Is so many people have lost someone because they don't take care of themselves, like my dad, and they've also lost someone like your daughter, like my son, who never had the opportunity because they were born that way and they never had a chance, but most of us do, even if we have restrictions. And so the fact that you're like, I get to do this instead of I have to, how you change those words just a little makes such a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, and I was working out before, I had my surgeries, but and that's another thing, you talk about owning a gym and that kind of thing. I don't think people realize that gyms are more than just a place to work out. That gym community was my family,
Yeah.
and that was the place where I felt strong. I felt like I belonged. I felt like a leader. You know what I mean? Like, the gym did so many more things for me than just making me look good in some tights, or, in my workout gear or my bathing suit, or whatever you want to say. Um, I loved my trainer that I had at the gym. I miss the gym. I do home workouts now just because we moved away from the community where I was living, and I loved my trainer. And it was like, after having him as a trainer and being in that community, it was like nothing else compared. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So now it's just me and my husband working out in our home gym, which is fun too. So
Yeah. You guys have to follow Christina because she does videos every day. She's so consistent. And I think when you know you're putting it out there, it makes you even more consistent. Like, I have to show up.
accountability.
Accountability. And that's something I preach. Let people know what you're doing so someone else is holding you accountable, just not yourself.
Well, and I think that's a good message for everybody, because we think that we're doing all this social media and we're putting things out there every day, and that nobody's watching it. You know what I mean? But you don't know how many people I've had, like, when we go to events or when I'm out in the community, and people come up to me and say, "I love your videos with you and your husband, and you inspired me to work out today." And so I think about that every day, because there's days that I don't want to work out. I'm not saying that I
Mhm.
get out there every day and I'm like, woohoo, because, like, Tuesdays is HIIT, and I do not enjoy HIIT workouts. I would much rather pick up something heavy and put it down on repeat.
Yeah.
But I do it anyway because I know it's good for me, and I know it's going to inspire somebody else. And I know that there's people who watch my story every day to see my workout.
Yeah.
So it does
That's
keep me.
so cool. I think so many people in the realm that me and Christina are in, it can be lonely because you feel like we need to post, we need to be visible, we need to be authentic and real, which I pride myself on. And I think that's one of the reasons we're drawn to each other, is we're not putting on a facade. Like, you see what you get what you see. And that's something that I'm like, too bad if you don't like it, right? But I love that you just show up no matter what. And that's not always easy to do when you're having a day. And we were just sharing before this, Christina lost her dog a few days ago, and how many memories are attached to a dog. And she's doing a 50 before 50. She's turning 50 soon. And just to still post, even when you don't feel like it, because you committed to it.
Yeah, I talk a lot about keeping promises to yourself, because
Mm,
I think if you can't keep a promise to yourself, how are you going to keep a promise to anybody else? Like, if you're letting yourself down every day, then how are you going to, do your best at work, or you're going to do your best for your family, or you're going to, so, but I think it's just that accountability. And I have another friend, Paige Killian, who's an organizer, and I read her book because we met in California at the beginning of the year. And now I make my bed every day. and I think of Paige every time I make my bed, but that's the first commitment that I made to myself that day. I can
Yeah.
make my bed. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it literally does not take as long as I was making it in my head. It's not that big a deal. And now my room looks organized because, as we know, a cluttered space creates a cluttered mind.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of ADHD going on. So
Can
I got to
relate.
have this, you know.
Yeah, you set the tone for the day, but you also said about committing to yourself. And I've worked with so many women that, they get to mid-age and they've done for everyone else. They're working, they're raising their family, they're running their kids to here, there, and everywhere. They're paying for all their stuff, and then they feel guilty for investing in themselves. And there's so little left in the tank by the time we get to mid-age. And if this is a message I always, like, you have to show up for yourself first if you want to have the future you desire. And so it's those little things that you need to put into place to prosper, not just in financially but physically. Like, what work what do you have to do to have longevity and to have a good health. So what are your non-negotiables, Christina, as far as your health?
Well, my workouts. My workouts keep me grounded. And because I think for a lot of my life, I was so disassociated from my body. It was almost like I didn't even know I had a body. And so I definitely didn't know what it felt like. I mean, I had a lot of chronic pain for years, but that workout keeps me grounded, and it gives me, body awareness, self-awareness, all those things. Obviously makes me stronger because I want to live for a really long time. so,
Yeah.
so I can help
Good
more.
health too.
And my water, definitely my water is a huge thing. I used to be one of those people who's like, I hate water and I don't want to drink the water. And, but your skin, your nails, your hair, like, we got to have water. So
Yeah. Anything else besides the physical aspect that is like a non-negotiable for you each day?
I mean, I have some kind of quiet time every day, whether it's with Jesus or just a meditation or just sitting quietly, whatever it is. I try to get out and walk a lot, but I can't, I don't always get to do that every day. But some kind of sunshine, just at least, take the
Yes.
dogs out for a minute and get in the sunshine and just sit there.
Yes, I feel you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about maybe, and I know you're forthright about it, so I'm going to ask because I think there's so many marriages that struggle. And you and your husband went through such a tumultuous time. I mean, when my husband and I lost our son, it was very trying on our marriage. But you've had a lot more challenges with it. So what would you say? And I love how honest you were. Like, it was just as much my fault because I was so disassociated. And I think there's so many people going through their life with their partner, the person who's supposed to mean the most, and they become like roommates. They're not paying attention to each other. They're not fostering their marriage. And I'm very intentional about this with my husband because he is the person I always say I'm going to die one day before him, so I don't have to live without him. So what would you say are some things that really helped you through that difficult time with your marriage?
Well, Jesus played a big part in that. And because it was the thing about the whole situation that happened, like, he really didn't have to tell me. And he came and told me. It was almost like a year and a half, 2 years after it had already happened and been done. And he was really convicted that he needed to tell me what had happened, and to make sure that he wanted me to know that he loved me, that, you know what I mean? Like, and because I had gained weight and I had sort of let myself go before then and all those things, you know what I mean? But he loved me for the me that was inside. And I think that was what was important. That's sort of the thing that I realized, like, he really does love me, and I'm not loving him the way he deserves to be loved. And so forgiveness, I mean, obviously I had to forgive him. And in the beginning, I mean, I will be honest, I was saying that I forgave him and I really hadn't yet.
Yeah.
But you got to process these things. I mean, it was a lot. and I was, yeah. And I was still trying to figure out who I was. And then, we're trying to figure out who we are together. And there was just, we were married so young. And I know that back then, we thought we knew everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, I look at my girls. My girls are 22, and like they couldn't be married. I
Yeah,
mean,
I get it.
it's
You
just
feel
wild.
you feel like that age yesterday. Like I feel like I'm still my daughter's going to be 27. I'm like I feel like I'm still 27.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I don't
But
know how we get to 50.
yeah, it's not possible. But I think in a relationship, in a marriage, you either grow together or you grow apart. And so
Yeah.
many people just choose to grow apart and they don't foster their marriage. And it's never too late to do that. It takes work, like anything in life. And I always say you have to remember why you fell in love with that person. And people do change. I mean, there are definitely relationships that are not meant to stay together. And I, totally can understand that. But if there's a fighting chance to stay together and it's worth it, then it is a lot of work. And so I really appreciate you sharing that because I think so many people would feel shamed about that because it makes you feel like either you did something wrong or that person doesn't love me or I'm not enough. And I think so many women feel like they're not enough. But on the flip side, Christine, it's also like you said, like you kind of let yourself go. And I think a lot of people do that. But to me, it's like showing respect, not just for yourself, for your partner when you take care of yourself. And we're a gift from God. And so we need to be taking care of not just our internal health, because that's where it starts. And once you focus on it internally, it's going to show on the external with the way you look and feel. And so I appreciate you mentioning that too and being open about that.
Yeah. It's funny because, going back to making my bed, my husband, he's so funny. He loves a made bed. Like he said to me one time, "Oh, the bed's looking all sexy." when it
Always
was
do
made.
that too.
And I was like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. But that was another thing to me, like, okay, I'm going to make the bed for me because I promised myself that I would. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
also making the bed for him because he
Yeah.
enjoys to come into the house after he's been work all day and see a clean room and a clean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we need to listen to each other and communicate our needs to each other. And I think that's what I wasn't doing. I didn't know what I needed. I was the perpetual people pleaser and just wanted to make sure that everybody else was taken care of and everybody else had what they needed. And so I would never communicate my own needs. Like that was crazy talk. I didn't even know what that meant back then.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the emotional intelligence back then either to ask him, what do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think I could have given him what he needed. Like I was so depleted.
Yep.
I mean, like I was just going through the motions at that point.
I think so many women, what you just said, can relate. You're going through the motions, you're caring for everyone else, you don't even know what you need because no one's really paying attention to that. And it's so important for your spouse to recognize that as well. Like she needs a break. How can I support you? Communication. I think that's a big breakdown in a lot of relationships, not just with your partner, but in life in general is even if it's a friendship and you feel like you did, like if there's something wrong, just let that person know so they're not making all these crazy assumptions on like, what did I do? Just be honest.
Yeah.
Because most likely it's something that can be easily repaired. But I think so many people just don't communicate that and they hold all that resentment and anger inside them for no reason.
And I think that we assume that we know what the other person is thinking, or we
Yes.
make up this whole scenario in our head of how the conversation is going to go, and then it's going to go poorly, and so then we just choose not to have it.
Yeah.
Which most of the time we're making a mountain out of a molehill,
Mm-hmm.
and the other person is usually not even thinking about you.
I know.
They're thinking about themselves.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
we've blown it up in our head and it eats at us. And I get that. So I've done that several times and it's a waste of energy, honestly.
yeah, I'm what used to be such an overthinker, and I can still overthink things, but I have really learned how to kind of not really, I guess, snap myself out of it. You know what I mean? Because now I realize when I'm doing it, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna reroute. We're gonna go outside. We're gonna write things down. Sometimes you just gotta like brain dump.
Yeah.
Get it out on paper or talk it into your phone or call a friend or whatever it is, but get it out of your head so it just doesn't
Yes.
keep swirling around in there.
Yeah. Okay. Let's turn the tables a little bit. What is something really fun about yourself that most people would not know?
That they would not know. Well, I put almost everything on social media. Let me think about this.
You can be on social media because people don't know you.
Oh, that's true. But I'm saying I put almost everything out there on social media.
Or like a fun fact about you that maybe it'll encourage someone to be like, yeah, I want to try that or do that.
Oh, well, I started painting last year, which was like totally out of my norm because I'm very type A personality and painting is very messy, like literally and figuratively.
Mhm.
And so that kind of got me out of my box
That's
a
good.
little bit. Um, and I was just actually, I'm sitting here looking at, I've got like this unfinished canvas sitting over here that's been staring at me, glaring at me for the past week. And I'm like, I need to paint.
Yeah.
So yeah, just, sometimes just start something.
Do
Even
something outside your comfort zone that challenges you that you would normally not do.
yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So as we wrap up, what advice do you have for maybe a woman that was feeling like I always say, we help the people that we used to be, the storm that we've walked through, and now we're on the other side, maybe before the next storm hits. What would be some advice that you could say to someone that might feel the way you had felt for a long time?
Just that you're worth investing in yourself and you are allowed to ask for things that you need and you are allowed to take a break and take time for yourself and not always feel guilty about everything. Like I think as moms, that's especially a big thing. We don't want to go out with our girlfriends or we don't want to go outside for 30 minutes or we don't, whatever it is. But you're worth taking the time to take care of yourself. And that makes you a better mom and a
Yes,
better wife and a better friend.
absolutely. Can so relate to that. You're always going to feel better after you do it, after your workout, after your walk, after time with a friend. You're always going to be a little more filled up.
For
So
sure.
tell everyone how they can find you, and I will post it as well under our video, but how people can find you and connect with you.
Yeah, my website is ChristinaPSimmons.com and Christina has no H, so Christina.
Yes, I'm very aware of that because I've done that a few times.
But I'm on all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I just started posting consistently on TikTok and YouTube.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah. And I just did a TEDx in March. That was a big deal.
Yes, and we will put a link to that so they can watch it. And there's one more thing I want you to share with everyone. Christine is going to be, your birthday's in July, right? It's coming
Yes.
up. And what are you doing for your 50th birthday, which I think is so inspiring?
So I am actually going to be in Costa Rica on my very first mission trip on my 50th birthday. And so I am going to be loving on and pouring into girls from like 11 to the age of 25 that have been human trafficked. And so, which is near and dear to my heart. We do a lot of work with that through our church. And I just felt called. I've always felt called to go on a mission. And I just never felt like I found one that was a good fit. And I was so worried about the monetary aspect of it because, you have to raise the funds. And God really showed up and showed out in that aspect. And yeah, so I had like 3 months to raise the money, and I think I had the money within 2 weeks.
Oh my God, that's so
It
fabulous.
was crazy. Yeah, I mean, and that's another lesson. Like, if you need something, ask for it. People will support you. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, so good.
Thank you for letting me share that.
So proud of you. And I think you're just so inspiring for all the people watching as women leaders, etc. So make sure you connect with Christina and stay tuned every Wednesday at 4 p.m. There will be a few, I have someone special from California that I'm going to be bringing in, a celebrity who will be at a different time, who did Mr. Beast with me. That is very well known. So that'll be actually in 2 weeks. Wait, maybe next week. I don't know. I'll have to check. But feel free to connect with me if anyone's looking for a fun July challenge. I'm doing the Move and Thrive 31-day challenge to get you moving, 15 to 20-minute workouts a day. So connect with me if you want. But this has been an awesome conversation with my good friend Christina. And I hope you all continue to take care of yourself, keep it real. And until next time, the Real Wellness Podcast, take care.